history is all around us. We walk past places every day without giving them a second glance. I just have. On this spot, in 1857, John Booth was hanged for murdering his mother-in-law in Old Meldrum to the north of the city. It was to be the last public hanging in the town, and John Booth's last view of the world was looking down Marshall Street. And if you know where to look, there are many more characters right on your doorstep. Now, I'm obviously not one of the original friars from down here in the Green, but we have found out something amazing. Frying still goes on here. Judith, why are we in a car park? A Carmelite in a car park?
It is a car park nowadays, but 700 years ago, if you'd come here, you'd have been standing right at the entrance of the medieval Carmelite friary church. The Carmelites were here from the 13th century to the time of the Reformation in about 1560, and we're actually right in the entrance of their church.
Right here is the doorway.
That's right. So
right.
we will go in, and we'll just go in the door here. There'll probably be a little holy water stoup here, and we'd dip our fingers in and cross ourselves.
Yes, okay.
And if we walked across the church here, we could look up to the east end there, well beyond those buildings, quite a big, tall building this, and you see the altar there. Quite bright inside, probably several windows, and we found evidence of some of the stained glass that was in them, some of it quite colourful, blues and reds and so on.
You're describing it very well, Judith, because I can imagine myself in the building right now.
That's good, so yes.
How high would it have been?
I think it would have been about 3/4 of the height of those buildings that we're looking at now.
Right.
Had very wide foundations, about 1 metre wide, solid stone, and so probably supporting quite a big roof and quite a big building.
Judith, how important were the Carmelites to Aberdeen?
I think they'd have been quite prominent in the city. They'd have been seen around the streets often, dressed in a brown habit with a white cloak, which is why they're known as the White Friars. They were associated with the university. They did some teaching and other sort of work there. And of course, most importantly, they were a religious focus for many people here.
Where was the kitchen?
It's just over here. We found a lot of evidence here, including the fireplace, which was really interesting. Because I find it quite evocative, because we found all the layers of charcoal, and it wasn't quite that the last meal was still there, but you felt that no one had cleaned the fireplace out after the last cook, and the fires had just left. It's quite sort of, really feeling the past in a way.
Amazing. And what about other excavations, Judith?
Well, the main other find was large numbers of skeletons, both inside the church and in the graveyard. Some of them would have been the Carmelites themselves, buried in their own church, and members of the community. Some of the people who'd given them money, for example.
Yeah. And one more question: any more excavations planned for the future?
I hope so. If some of these buildings around us have to be demolished for any purpose, we know where to look very much now, and we know what we're looking for, and it will be very exciting to find more.
In the late 19th century, Aberdeen was the British centre for envelope production. The self-seal envelope was developed in Aberdeen.
A few other cities tried, but in the end we licked them good and proper.
Rubistow Quarry is one of the largest man-made holes in Europe.
It all started many years ago when the man who owned the land dropped a sixpence.
Aberdeen has over 33 restaurants.
I was in a restaurant last week. I said to the waiter, "These eggs are terrible." He says, "Don't look at me, I only laid the table."
Over 100,000 roses grow in the Rose Mound at Duffy Park.
Between you and me, that's where I get the flowers for my mother's birthday.
An Aberdeen shoemaker was the first to fit rubber heels.
Hey, I hope they're high heels.
Here we are at the Hardgate. Today a nice place to live, but in 1644 you wouldn't want to be here. This is the site of the Battle of Justice Mills, fought between the Royalists under the Marquis of Montrose and the Covenanter citizens who defended the town. Montrose and his huge Royalist army crossed the Dee at Drum, spent the night at Crathis, and the following day marched on Aberdeen. The Aberdeen defenders took up good position on the high ground behind me, while Montrose and his army came in by Broomhill Road and on to the Hardgate, which is a continuation of this road here. Montrose sent up a messenger boy under flag of truce, but unfortunately, on his way back out of town, he was shot. It was then that all hell broke loose. On the day, the citizen army was outnumbered and outmarched, and the result of the Battle of Justice Mills was victory for the Royalists and the Marquis of Montrose. What followed was indescribable. The Royalists poured into the town, burning, raping and murdering as they went. The Tolbooth prisoners were set free and they joined in the orgy. It was a hell of a day for Aberdeen and his citizens, but 5 years later, when Montrose was hanged in Edinburgh, it was said that the Aberdeen population went about their business with a smile on their face.